It's not me. Hello! Welcome to Alpha Book Club. This is the world's best interactive book club out there.
A little French.
Yeah, it's New Orleans.
Okay, all right.
Nolans.
Yeah.
From France to
It's a
Guys.
French and Spanish colony.
good. I thought I nailed it. Like a stake through my heart. Haha. Hey there, guys. I'm Maude Garrett. This is the last week that we are talking Interview with the Vampire. And guess who's on the panel? Yeah, Rachel's back, guys. Give it up for Rachel Heine.
And I have some things to say.
Someone has to defend this book. And who's not going to do that? Hector Navarro. Oh, he's having a sipsy sip.
That's a lot of wine.
Or is it blood?
Huh?
Thank you, Aaron.
My wine.
My wine.
Delicious.
Thank you. All
And
right.
hello, Alpha Book Club. Let's read out some of the names we can see in the chat. Caribbean,
Caribbean.
Katrina, Bucky B, 618, Ms. Kylo Ren, Game Winds 001, who was our Skype guest in week 1, I believe.
Cool.
DeMarco Draws, who's been doing some amazing art and posting it on Twitter.
Oh my God, the
How
one of us
good?
as vampires is the best thing I've ever seen. I was like, can I be that cool? Can my eyes, like,
It was a lot of cool.
I'm like gonna print it out and put it on my wall.
You should.
Oh, that's a good idea. I
Right?
like that.
I love
Java
it
Book
so
Geek Girl
much.
is here. Knox
Yes.
is here. The Tamaranian. Rachel has thoughts and a super cute dress.
Tamaranian.
Spooky cute.
I definitely have thoughts.
I actually rated my wardrobe to look like Rachel because I think I want to join her clan. So I don't know what my initiation has to be,
You're already part of my clan.
but I think I could do it. I could be boring for a whole book until the last 4 chapters.
Are you fucking kidding me, Maude? Wow, I just said you could be in my clan and you throw that in my face.
Well, Louis.
Right off the bat.
Louis got turned, didn't he? And
Yeah, he's boring.
Yeah,
I
he
told
is.
you guys.
Yeah,
I
you
told
did.
you
Yeah.
in the first week,
Yeah.
and you guys were like, "No, Lestat's terrible. We love Louis," and I was like, "You have no idea. Louis sucks. Louis
Yeah, he
straight
does.
up sucks," and that's why it's such a bummer that.
until he cracks, man.
I know,
He's the
but
kind
it's
of person, you know
great.
those people that really don't ever want conflict, they don't want to stir the pot,
Sure.
so they bottle everything up.
Yes.
And then there's that one thing and they snap,
Yep.
and it's just like, it's kind of amazing because there is no filter anymore. That's what Louis did
He broke.
with a death Scythe, isn't it?
Scythe, yeah.
Scythe?
I
Scythe.
think
Scythe? Scyther? It's a Pokemon.
it is Scyther.
Oh, it's still Scythe.
You are on
It is.
a
It's
roll.
Scyther.
Oh, that's, no.
Did y'all get that
more
down?
correctly. Scythe.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's all right. Hey guys, so what happened?
Geodude.
What?
So I want to know, since I was gone.
Yeah. Oh man, Maude felt so bad last
So-
week. She felt so. She was like, we were talking too much crap about it. And I
I
was like,
know,
well,
it's okay. You guys don't have to like every book, but I wanna. It's very slow. The middle is slow. I haven't read this since I was 14.
what did you think when it was done? What did you
that
think of
when you
this
got turned?
reread? Since you were 14.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
How old
when
were you when you got turned? Is that a personal question? Do we
Yeah.
not ask that? I'm so sorry.
I mean, how old do I look?
Yeah. I mean, she said
There-
14.
you know.
I said 14. That was my first guess. Was 14.
Well, thanks.
Did no one? Did no one?
I don't know.
I feel like there's some place here that I'm missing.
Did no one realize that I dressed up as Claudia for this?
Yes.
Oh.
I dressed up as a 12-year-old who actually looks is supposed to be 5.
I got you. I picked more of like a Wednesday Addams, but a vampire.
I thought Wednesday
Yeah.
Addams, but she's also a young girl, and also that is the style that I wear. So calling me, they all work
Yeah.
together.
They all work
yeah,
together.
They all
Okay.
work
Cool,
together.
cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird because I read the first one after I saw the movie. I think I was 13 or 14. My uncle gave me the books, and I really liked the first one because I had the movie in my mind, and I thought it was really. It was super my
It's your tempo.
it was super my shit, as they say, because it was like kind of campy, gothy, sexy, weird.
Yeah.
Kirsten Dunst is so good, and we'll talk
great.
about the movie. But
Yeah.
so I read the book and I was like, ooh, fun. There's more in it. And then I got to the rest of the books and I was like, oh, these blow this one out of the water. And but you can't start with that. You have to start with this
Yeah.
one because it lays all the groundwork. So it was a bummer because when they picked it, I was like, wish we could just do the Vampire Lestat because it's like they go into Lestat's history in like 1800s France. They go to they learn about Egypt and the
have a
origin
question.
of vampires. It's fucking
Can you answer this question?
Yes.
Is this spoiled? If you feel like it's a spoiler, I don't know if I'm going to read any of the other books. Maybe when the show comes out, and if the show is like phenomenal, I might be like,
show will be
ooh,
great.
let's see book 2 and
better
book
be
3 going
If
forward.
the show is good, I
Yeah.
mean, I always feel like I want to read the book, but that doesn't mean that everyone wants
Sure.
to. And so the source material here was very slow in the middle. I forgot how slow it was, but the final product of the film is so great.
Yeah,
fi-
because it trims
yeah.
all the fat. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And
it does.
Don't ever apologize because I made you read high fantasy.
That's true, but I didn't mind that. The worst one so far,
1984.
Three-Way Tie, 1984,
Okay.
To Kill a
Giver.
Mockingbird,
Oh,
and
yeah.
The Gunslinger.
Oh, interesting.
I much prefer the Gunslinger over
Me too.
the Giver.
Gunslinger.
Oh,
No, The Giver
Couldn't
was
give
fine.
a.
But the Gunslinger was so dry.
Sure.
And there were no answers.
Yes. Now I have a question. Speaking of answers,
Yeah.
do we learn who the vampire that birthed Lestat is later? Was it hinted in this book that it was Armand? No, right? Or vice versa?
But they knew.
You learn the second book, The Vampire Lestat, is all about Lestat's
Right.
life.
So you learn.
So you learn everything about him
Okay.
and his history for the most part.
Okay.
Does it take a while or do you get it Lestat? Thought it was great.
It was
I'm feeling the head shake from Hector over there. No, like because it's French. Quick, let's.
No, we got it.
Don't like it. Don't like it.
I liked it. It was,
Don't
it was
like
pretty
it.
good, even though you insulted me.
Yeah.
But you do learn that. You learn much more about vampires in general. Louis in this one doesn't even learn how vampires can die for so long.
Yeah,
They don't.
yeah.
He's left in the dark, and that's kind of part of this relationship. But the second one's all about Lestat, and then the third one is Queen of the Damned,
Yeah.
which was turned into a not very great but very fun bad movie. Which removes a lot of what's interesting about it because you need the Vampire Lestat and the Egyptian stuff for that to make sense. But he basically becomes like an 80s rock star.
Lestat does.
Yeah,
Cool.
in the third one. It's
right.
really great.
That's great. There's
So
a
obviously
great.
this is all his life before Louis.
It's before and then it's after.
When he's half corpse. Oh, he gets better.
I don't know.
Drinks bloods of virgins or something. I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, because you saw the film,
Yes.
and at the end of the movie.
How did you handle it?
So here's the thing.
Yeah. 'Cause I
Paige,
know
this
you're-
is what I can't look at you when I say this, but the book got so hard for me that I had to watch the movie to help me get
That's
through.
okay.
Okay, because this
That's
is what I
okay.
chastise
Yeah.
Hector for.
Yes,
I
yes, you do.
understand.
Yes,
know.
you do.
Yes.
yeah,
It's like-
he's the one who should be mad. I don't care.
No, I'm
Look,
not mad.
This is not the Golden
I'm
Compass.
disappointed in myself.
Yes.
Okay? The
True.
Golden Compass, like
That's a book you can't put down.
Someone
You gotta pick your battles.
suggested this, and I was like, "Ooh, that would be really fun because I haven't read it in a long time. It's such a classic. It's a film, but it's not the book where I'd be like, this is the best book. You have to read it, which is the Golden Compass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great
That
book,
might be coming
shit
up.
movie.
But
Can't wait to watch
with
that
a
movie.
terrible movie. No,
Don't.
No.
Oh, please don't watch that one.
don't watch
Oh, I
it.
most
Don't
definitely
watch
will.
it first.
That
Don't
is
watch
Daniel
it
Craig,
first. No,
Evergreen?
don't watch it.
That's
No,
happening.
no,
Wait,
that is
Hector,
the
Hector,
only
Hector,
one.
Wait, both of our birthdays are coming up.
Yeah?
Please, for our birthday, please.
Oh, happy
don't
birthday!
Watch,
Come over. You can watch it with me.
No, please don't watch the movie first. You can watch it, but don't watch it first.
Please, please, please,
I
please,
will,
please,
but I
please,
want
please,
to.
please, no,
and then
please,
the
please,
soundtrack, I'll want to listen to it
No,
while
you
Soundtrack's
reading.
fine.
listen to the soundtrack, please.
Don't
Please,
watch the
Hector,
movie.
Please. Hector, please. Please don't
It means
watch
that much to you?
Yes.
Shake on it. Pinky promise.
All right, I won't watch the movie before I read that book.
Oh, thank you.
I will not watch the
Oh my
movie before I
God.
read that book.
I'm so excited.
Okay, okay.
I swear.
Okay, this is where
I
your
took-
life
I took it
changes.
se- I took it
It's so
seriously.
good.
I took it
But
seriously.
no, I don't
never seen
blame
someone back like
everyone. It's very no pinky swear.
Don't fuck around.
Okay, not a lot of people will get this, but someone who used to work here at Nerdist broke a pinky swear with me, and I brought it up with him. And he's a dear, wonderful person.
Not anymore.
Brought it up for. I mean, I've known him 4 years, and
Yeah.
every time I see him, I'm like, remember when you broke the pinky?
You just
That's
don't.
great. That's great. I want
No,
to point
he's a
out,
sweetheart.
T-Boyce is watching from 34,000 feet. T-Boyce is up in the air right
Stop
now.
it.
That's so cool.
Haha.
The Mile High Alpha Book Club is what
might be
he's
the
a part of.
first.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what everybody in the chat said. Yeah.
And
That's dedication.
Louis and Lestat would probably be really impressed with airplanes because there's so much new stuff. But yeah,
don't
it
know.
drags in the middle a lot. I love Claudia, and I love the end, and I find when I was 14, I just found the whole thing very sexy.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so it was. I went to an all-girls school, and I was like, no one knows what I'm reading. You know, like it was a very big deal. So
I think that at the end of the experience of reading the book, especially with the last few, what did you say, 4 chapters?
Yeah.
We don't have chapters of this, but like the last couple parts, basically this last section that we read, it does really speed up. Things happen, but not only that, but we get to learn about characters' motivations in a way that I was like, thank you. I'm like, where was this kind of stuff at the beginning?
You. And there
These
was
kind
some,
of revelations.
Oh, exactly.
It was great.
Exactly.
It was
and
great.
it was explained in such an amazing way. And it's like
Yes.
the pin dropped, and you're like, oh, that
Great.
was it worth the wait? But it was like
Louis,
redemption.
Armand,
Yes.
Lestat, Claudia,
Yep.
Madeline, was that the mother,
Madeline.
the new mother character? Even Santiago were very interesting and compelling characters in this last section that I feel like the characters are so great and some of the ideas are so great they're all time. With Claudia being the little girl vampire is still so interesting
Stuck in
and
her
so
body.
fascinating.
So it's I
And
mean, she's a tragic character.
Java Book Geek Girl said earlier in the chat that the movie proved that Anne Rice is a great writer because there are sections in the film that are like word for word lines from the book, and you can feel like, oh, that's good writing. Like there's great little moments like that. But Java Book Geek Girl said that it was Louis' verbose descriptions of everything that just really kind of slowed down the pace sort of throughout.
And that's why the movie was so good as well. And, you know, kudos to Anne for really knowing what would work and what wouldn't work and just being like ripping chunks
because she wrote the
pages out.
screenplay.
Yeah.
But think about this too. This was published, that's not the right one, in like 1975, and the movie's from 1994.
Yeah.
So she had written several
Yeah.
sequels since then, which are all much better. And she didn't write the first sequel until 10 years after.
Got it.
8 to 10, I think
Wow.
it's like 83 or 85.
Was she writing in between those years, or was she doing other stuff?
I think she had a really hard time getting it published, and then it wasn't super well received. And
first book.
Yeah, the first book
Sure.
at the time, and she was having some personal problems. But she adapted this book out of a short story that she had done, and you can tell a little bit that like it starts as a kernel and then it drags and then there's a really great part. But I wanted to actually, because I wasn't here to defend the book.
Real quick, can I say this too,
yeah.
and then we can get back to this, but then keep going with what you're saying, Rachel. Jolie
Yeah.
the Grey says, I got almost no sexuality out of this book. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm too old?
No, because there isn't.
It's
Game-
not
sexy tone.
actual. Yes.
Game Wizard says
sensuality.
it's more sensuality than sexuality, and they said yes, that as well, but I also didn't feel it, or something like that, is what they said. So
It was like an extreme passion.
I
but like
found it to be, especially between Louis and Armand at the end, super homoerotic.
Yeah.
In a way that I was like, and just commit.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like, I just want to hear them, like, just commit to it already. Like, they should just bang it out. Like, what's...
bang it
But
out.
that's like the anticipation.
Yeah, I
is
get
always,
it. I get it.
And,
but
and
I was waiting for that release,
know.
Rachel. I'm
No, I know. Well,
I'm here
let
and I'm
me tell
anticipating
you
it.
that. So I researched it because I couldn't remember when I was younger. Because especially think about a 14-year-old girl in an all-girls
Yes.
school.
This
I
is
mean,
very sexy.
catnip.
Very sexy.
And they could physically have sex, but they don't want to because the act of feeding and that
Is, like,
like
more-
bloodlust is
that's
more.
what they.
Yeah.
That's their.
That's their thing.
That's
but,
the analogy for, like, lovemaking.
No,
There
that's
is
just
a-
how they're excited.
Yeah, but there is a book
yeah, he
down
got
the
a boner, I
line.
remember.
Yeah, there is a book down
his
the
his hard
line
manness or whatever.
called "The Tale of the Body Thief."
Set
and
in the
that-
world? Okay.
And that one is interesting because it's like, what would happen if a vampire, say, after many hundreds of years, got to be in a human body again?
Oh.
Yeah, that one is
That's cool.
a hot
Whoa.
one. But
Oh.
so I wanted to read this because you guys might.
Please.
If you're a Nerdist fan,
Please.
you should definitely go to Nerdist.com and look for our Anne Rice interviews because Eric Diaz, who's one of my favorite people and favorite writers, I always know that we're going to be on the same page because it's like Disney, gothic stuff, like sexy, weird, like we just like all the same stuff. And so he had been watching the last couple of episodes. He's a big Anne Rice fan.
Him and Amy Vorpal aren't talking, is my guess.
Well, he messaged me on Facebook and was like, what is happening with all of these? I think he said like these straight young people or something. 'Cause he's a little older. And so I was like, I know I'm not there to defend our book. And so he said, can I send you a letter to read? So I'm going to read it.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
So
this is great.
hey guys, just wanted to chime in as the second resident Anne Rice fanatic at Nerdist after Rachel. I would say he's before me, but he's being kind. Been listening to you guys discuss Interview with the Vampire, and as someone for whom the Vampire Chronicles were a formative part of their adolescence, I wanted to barge in and defend the novel and explain why the book is considered a classic.
Yes.
Specifically with the LGBT audience, along with another demographic the book means a lot to, which is people struggling with crippling depression. In terms of depression, Anne Rice wrote this book in a matter of weeks following the death of her 6-year-old daughter from leukemia, in what she calls a drunken stupor and in a state of profound grief. The comparisons to Stream of Consciousness are not off the mark, as she says the book just poured out of her, and all the despair she felt at the loss of her child and the subsequent loss of her religious faith were reflected in the character of Louis. This is a book foremost about despair and asking questions of a higher power about your existence, for which you know you'll never get an answer. For people struggling with intense depression, I know this book has been very meaningful to them for capturing that feeling, all within a fantasy-style framework to make it more palatable. And for me, the book's metaphor to the LGBT audience is what drew me in as a young gay teen. Louis is like many young LGBT people coming out to themselves, feeling that the intense desires that they have are frowned upon by God and make them damned in some way. This is especially true if you grow up in a religious background. Louis thinks that by finding others like himself, he won't feel like a freak or a loner anymore, like many young gay people do. But just like Louis, many young gay teens find that just finding your tribe doesn't make it all suddenly better or fix the hole inside you. As Armand tells Louis, you must find your own reasons to exist. In many ways, as a young gay teen, Lestat's words to Louis in the book had a profound impact on me as a kid. It may seem silly, but when Lestat explains to Louis that being an outsider, being different, and living outside the norm isn't a curse, but a gift, one that offers you a unique perspective on life that others might not have, these words saved me. He may have been talking about vampires, but even at 14, I could read between the lines. Lestat may have been the villain in the first novel, but he was still right, which is why I'm Team Lestat forever. I should also add, Interview with the Vampire was maybe the first example of same-sex parents in a popular mass-produced media that I ever saw.
Very true. Very true.
The entire notion of Claudia is still very much wish fulfillment for many gay people because she is literally the physical product of Louis and Lestat. She couldn't have been made without both of them, and her personality is a mix of both of them as well. Of course, gay couples today can adopt or have a surrogate, but nature still prevents same-gendered people from producing a life from both of their beings, and this story creates a supernatural way for that to happen. Interview is not plot-driven at all and relies all on atmosphere and character, and I recognize that annoys a lot of people. I also hate the whole middle chapter in Eastern Europe, to be honest. The following 2 books in the series are my preferred one, but Interview is the foundation of it all. The mood and world Anne Rice created was an exotic and sensual place to me as a teenager, and on some level it always will be. Oh, and one last thing. For whomever pointed out that Louis and Lestat are the basis for the Stefan and Damon on
me.
Vampire Diaries, the older carefree vampire versus the broody, depressed younger one. See also Angel and Spike on Buffy and Bill and Eric on True Blood. All of these shows owe Anne Rice a check. I'm just saying. Thanks for letting me stick up for my
Eric,
preternatural boys. Love Eric.
Eric.
So well said. And I
Beautifully
think that's
said.
why you need
He's a brilliant writer.
a voice of panelists, like different perspectives,
Sure.
different ideas, different
Yeah.
ideologies. I never put that together that was
Yeah.
a same-sex parenting.
Yeah.
It just didn't occur to me at
Yeah,
all.
that's a very interesting, and it makes perfect sense. Like, that's a very interesting read of that.
Yeah.
And it's something that I'm sure that, like, everything that he said was absolutely true, and I think it
Spot
all
on.
works on a subconscious level.
But opened my
And it's-
eyes to it.
Yeah.
Well,
but
and I
it's-
think too,
yeah.
it's when we've talked about this in terms of however, just having different perspectives on the panel, which is why it's so great to chat with everyone online too,
Yeah.
because you guys can bring your perspective as well. But I think that's what's interesting about it is that something can be all mood and just read a certain way for someone because of their perspective.
Absolutely.
And then really hit them. And the depression aspect when I was a teenager was one that spoke to me as well, where he's sort of just like in this as an adult, and especially after watching the film, you're like, oh, like I love at the end
Sure.
of the movie, it goes, Louis always whining. But
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the book, that feeling where he's just like he can't live, but he can't die.
Yep.
And that space. And so I think that even though I think we all agree that it's our first novel, it certainly could have used some tinkering, but it spawned this huge thing and meant so much to so many people. And I swear to you guys, the next 2 books are
I believe
so
you.
fun.
It is
They're really fun.
It's so frustrating because, like, all of this and all of these discussions make me absolutely appreciate the book more. And I love the story. I didn't know about Anne Rice's child, that she lost her kid.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite art, period, movies, books, TV shows, comic books, whatever, have similar songs that were written. I can't tear up I cannot not tear up when listening to Eric Clapton's, song that he wrote after he lost his child.
Yeah.
I love art that comes from that. My favorite movie of all time was basically developed after the director, Brad Bird, lost his sister to gun violence. He then creates a movie asking the question, if a gun had a soul, would it want to be a gun?
Wow.
The answer is resoundingly no, and that's The Iron Giant. And that's the thing that I got as a kid, as a 12-year-old, kind of, learned that fact about the story of this film years later and went, oh my God, that's why I love it. You know why I love the Ninja Turtles so much? It's stupid, but they're an immigrant story. The Ninja Turtles are the children, American children, firstborn generation children of a parental figure from a foreign country who's trying to instill in them the good values of his culture, and they're just interested in pizza and MTV and skateboards, but they also fight crime and shit. And I was like, that's what I liked subconsciously as a 5-year-old Mexican kid, who my parents were from Mexico. Years later, I'm realizing, so all of this makes me so appreciate what Anne Rice did, but I still feel like it's interesting to read this in 2018, 30, 40 years after she wrote it, with the final product and going, we know that there's good stuff here. I want to see the adaptation in the show. I'm interested in how they adapted it into the film, because there's good and bad of the film. And I think that, like you're saying, they cut a lot of the fat. So, I'm behind this world and this story and Anne and everything. It's just like, I couldn't connect with the words on these pages as they are.
And it was harder for me the second time. I was like, oh, this is dragging.
It was a bit tough in the middle.
But someone else in the comments pointed out that this story also reinforces, which I never thought of but is really brilliant, that it was about marriage to sin.
It was the Tamarinian.
Yeah.
Yep. There it is.
The Tamarinian, I do think that it also reinforced this bad idea that you can/should fix your marriage by having kids.
Yep. That's exactly what Lestat did.
Yeah.
Lestat is,
super manipulative.
So manipulative, but I love that even after all this time, toxic relationships are bad, but they're the stuff of famous literary and film and everything, where he's still just like, but Louis.
Yeah, I know.
Still, after all this time,
Do you guys think he's a villain? Lestat is a villain? Maybe just going off of this book, because you've read him going forward, but do you think he's a villain? Do you think he is a good but flawed person?
He's needy.
I think he's an antagonist.
Okay.
There you go.
He's not a good, but I feel like vampires, even Louis is not good,
you're
like
absolutely
people.
Right, because even
no
Armand
one can be only good and only bad.
Armand is basically as evil as Lestat.
I loved him.
But was not
his
an
approach
antagonist.
is
He was like an enabler for Louis. Like, he just stayed with him for all of those years. And
that moment where he comes to the beautiful realization that Armand has destroyed him so he could be as broken as Armand, and they could be broken together. That for me.
Yep.
Oh, we've got a. Sorry. Can't take a vampire anywhere. But you know what? I'm actually, especially after the letter, and Eric, thank you so much for writing in with that.
Yeah, that was great.
I almost wish I heard that. It sucks that we had to drag the book for 2 episodes to get there. But for me, I need to learn thinking outside the Maude box, because as far as I go, I didn't grow up with depression. I am, a straight white girl who has a non-broken family. As far as things go, it's pretty great. So to hear these other perspectives coming in, and I'm like, whoa! I almost feel that instead of watching the movie before I read the book,
you wanted to read that letter. Maybe?
I think I want to do a lot more digging around into the author's background.
I think it is important to not just research the writer's background, but I really like to either in the middle of the book or maybe near the depending on how I feel about it. Or maybe we can do something where we do, for the final episode, we do some research
Fun
afterwards
facts
and talk about it.
I
Because
wouldn't even mind doing fun facts in the first or second.
Yeah, because I think that And hopefully, you know, the more that you guys chat in as well and tweet us, getting those perspectives is so important. And I was so excited when he said he wanted to send that to me because I love Eric's writing, and that's just him sending a letter.
It was such a good defense as well. Like if this was debate, I'd be like,
it's great.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, I know.
So right.
And you guys should all find him on Twitter and read his stuff on Nerdist because he's a huge comics fan. He knows I mean, you would love his stuff. He's wonderful. And Eric, we love you, and I hope you're watching this. But I think also I have had the same thing, but for different reasons. You know, there are sometimes things that I don't enjoy because of my perspective, because they're like too good, or you know, you know, there's sort of that as well. But I think that's what's fun about book club is that we all kind of bring something to it.
I have been so into the past maybe 2-3 years this analysis of media, of books, of movies especially. I love digging into like, what is this thing saying? And when people, especially people online, when things like this come from like a place like Nerdist or Geek and Sundry or whatever, and people get upset and they go, oh, you're politicizing something, or just be objective.
It's literally been the point of art for centuries.
For centuries, you know, oh, just objectively just review this film without bringing your whatever to it. And I go, nobody watches anything in a vacuum. The way that we, all of us,
I think I have been.
Yeah, you say
I'm
that,
in a
but
vacuum.
there's still stuff that is specific to your life, to your life experience, to the fact that you're Australian here in Los Angeles is huge. It's huge and gives you gives you a life perspective, a point of view that many people.
I still lose my shit over red Solo cups. They're new and fun for me. I only saw them in movies. And then I came here and I'm like, oh my God.
It's real.
So fun.
But I love having that conversation.
Keg
and I
stand,
think
still haven't done a keg stand.
You still haven't done one?
Nope. Seen someone do it. It was exciting.
We can't do it. We can't
That
do it
does
with
not happen
wine,
in Australia. No kegs. Don't have no kegs.
We'll find a keg stand.
And we don't
I'll
have
take you to a keg
many
stand.
insects and animals that are poisonous and try to kill us everywhere.
That's the thing.
Which
Like,
is
I
the thing
have
you
absolutely no problem crushing it in my hand.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, no,
I do.
I can
But
touch 'em.
that's what we're supposed
like
to
a
do.
scorpion?
We love the stuff we love because of who we are. That's why we love that stuff. Please, yes, absolutely. So anyway, I just like talking about that stuff. I've loved like the response to Black Panther in the past couple weeks.
Yeah.
The discussions that have come about, the way that people are analyzing it,
Such great.
and learning. You know what? Part of the fun.
I overdid it for you guys.
Do you want to even it out a little bit with mine?
It's okay. Yeah.
Please. No, mine's so full.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
get
was
that one
trying-
to this point, and
I
then they'll
was
all three be
trying to
even.
There it is.
Kind.
She's a little like, what are we talking about? Says
Yeah, a
Michael
little more.
35. Interview with the vampire.
More?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And we actually had a
That's
letter,
good.
if you're catching up, written in by Eric, who provided a completely new perspective on the book, which has shone a lot of light. I say shone as well as an Australian.
It's okay. Shown.
No, it's not.
Oh.
Shone. Don't.
It's
Shone
also
with me,
zebra,
boy.
not
Sean
zebra,
Alight?
you weirdo.
Sean Alight?
Sean. You Sean. Yeah.
Sean.
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 I love
Sean.
it. That's a
Tamaranian
character
is
from
Australian
Boy
as well.
Meets
Have my
World.
back, please. Have my back with this.
Sean
Sean.
Matthews? Mr. Matthews?
That's Sean.
Yeah,
It's
Sean-
not Sean Matthews. It's Eric
I'm
and
so alone.
Corey
Corey
Matthews?
Matthews.
And Sean Hunter?
Hunter.
Uh-huh.
I loved him.
I saved it. I saved
Thank
myself.
you. But so I just want to touch on that point, even though, you know, I feel like we talk about this a lot, but we have new people, and it's super prescient right now because of things like Black Panther and these really great pieces of art that do have something to say. And one of the things I love about working here, especially on the editorial side, is doing, and you know, our features editor Matt has been doing all these really incredible working with writers on these pieces. That's why I went to school and got a little burnt out, honestly, on it for analysis, because it's basically doing that, and it's either taking your personal perspective. One of the coolest classes I ever took was a Shakespeare class that was about
Could not pay me.
but it was about systems of power and how Shakespeare deconstructs different systems of power.
That dude
in
punches
his,
up. I love it.
Oh my God,
I
it's
love it.
brilliant stuff. Or Marlowe, who knows? But it's brilliant, and there are a couple ones where, you know, you look at the framework and it's like, well, they set this particular story, like A Midsummer Night's Dream or something, outside of the system so that they can play in there. And you get into all this really crazy theory stuff, and it's so much fun. But I find the personal, hearing about how other people interpret these stories, that's why this is so fun. That's why book clubs are fun. That's why
I agree.
movie and TV and comic book shows are fun, because we are all coming at it from a different perspective, even if we came from the same background.
Sure.
Everyone is different. So that's really exciting, and I'm really glad that you watched the movie, and I want to hear what you thought of the movie, because
Yeah, wow.
you are not a big horror
Yeah,
fan.
Maude, like you. I
I'm
don't know
really
how you did it,
impressed.
because I've seen less violent, gory stuff. Like I was watching the movie and I turned to my girlfriend. I was like, "Oh, this is making me a little lightheaded with the amount of blood that's in this fucking movie."
Fun
And you sat
fact,
through it.
Oprah walked out of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I interviewed Oprah, so never mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, how was that?
Oh my God, guys.
What'd she
I've
tell you?
never fumbled so much over my first question in an interview ever.
What did she say? What's
I sat
one
down
thing
in
she
front
said
of,
to you?
It was Oprah and Reese
I know.
Witherspoon and Mindy Kaling.
That's
and
too
I was
much.
like, hello, Mrs. From the movie. Anyway, so you notice that that's come. It's really. It's what I've noticed from time. Seriously, that's how it went. It was.
Oh, that is so endearing.
That's
That
train
is
wreck.
so
amazing.
endearing.
I stumbled over
Yeah.
any and every word, and then finally just realized, no, she's like my mom. It's fine.
Last night,
And also they just let him talk, because when we were on the set visit, and Oprah was in one of the silver outfits
Yes,
she's wearing, and she
yes.
couldn't sit in the chair, so she like leaned, and someone was like, and she was like, I got it, and she just leaned in the chair. And I've never seen a group of like journalists or reporters or whatever. No one really even asked a question. We all just sat there like
Listened,
this,
yeah.
and she just
Yeah.
Guys,
spoke.
last night on Comic Book Club, Ashley Esqueda said that because she had a chance to go to the premiere, and she was at like the little after party or whatever. She said that Oprah said she had nice glasses.
Yeah.
So Ashley was like, "I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
done," and showed a
amazing.
picture of like her and Oprah, like little
Yeah.
selfie thing, and I'm like, "That's the craziest." Thing that Oprah was having a conversation with somebody, saw Ashley Esqueda like away, and was like, "I love your glasses," like one of those moves. We were just like, "What
like,
are you?"
thanks.
How do you
Yeah.
even deal with,
Yeah.
well, just slight humble brag for the entirety of Nerdist, but on the set visit when Ava DuVernay came in, and everyone was starstruck, and she went around and introduced herself to everyone and was like, tell me your outline. I was like, Rachel from Nerdist. She goes, Nerdist, love you guys. And I was like,
Yeah, that's great.
Just like freaked out.
You were like, tell Oprah about us. I don't know, tell her.
Yeah, Chris Pine too while you're
Yeah.
at it. But yeah, what'd you think of the movie? Maude.
I had the question.
Oh, okay, you're just processing.
If you haven't read the book, I think it can be a little bit hard to follow.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's
so interesting.
I was fine with it and didn't read the book when I saw the movie for the first time. I thought the movie was super over the top and so outrageous and super fun. Lee,
Oh, we're back
so
to
silly.
this.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about Wrinkle in Time.
no,
Oh, no.
no,
Really easy to follow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like, what?
I thought you meant Wrinkle in Time.
Interview with the
Oh,
Vampire.
That's what
Yes.
I've heard too.
Not all of us have seen Wrinkle in Time
No.
yet.
That's
We
when
can-
you're like, I
yeah.
watched the movie before I read the book. I was like,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
we all read the book on book club. The movie just
No,
came.
like,
I
yeah.
That's when I was
no.
like, ew.
Yeah.
Backing up.
Interview with the Vampire. What'd you think?
Look, it was, I mean, Brad Pitt's just so attractive
Yep.
that it was almost distracting at times.
And Tom Cruise too. He's a hunk.
Yeah.
I loved him as
but
a
again,
kid.
like,
Oh my God.
Brad is super reserved when playing Louis, and then you have. I mean, I actually really love Tom Cruise as the star.
Me
He
too.
He's very
took
entertaining.
risk, and he just went overboard, and it paid off, and it was just so fun and engaging to watch. And then
I loved Antonio Banderas too. When he's like playing with the fire, I was just like, "You're too sexy." I love
he's
it.
great.
He is
He's
great.
so great.
Everyone is so sexy in this movie, and the
Except
whole
for Kirsten Dunst.
Well, yeah, she's
She's
a child.
lovely. Yes.
She's so good, but the whole time, I don't know if you feel this way, but the whole time I'm like, just kiss already.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tandy
yeah.
Newton's amazing in this. I
Yeah.
really loved that moment.
yeah.
Like, they
She
really,
looks so young. It's crazy. Like,
but there's parts where it's like, oh, this is so much better than the book. Like
Yeah.
they've really honed in on
I
this
feel like they
particular
kind of
thing as
do
a
go
moment.
into. Maybe I was a little bit frustrated when we got to that section in the book where they deal with the whole thing of slavery.
Yeah.
The movie kind of actually tackles it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like Anne Rice wrote like a whole like there's a revolt. They know that these people are evil. They
They're
sort
trying
of.
to they're trying to burn the house down. As
They
well.
burn the house down,
Yeah.
and then in the book we kind of gloss over a little bit. So that's very interesting.
Yeah,
but the
I really
changes
like
I
that
think were
moment.
interesting. I think that when we get to 2018, when this show comes out, whenever it comes out next year, or whatever, I think it's going to be gayer than the movie ever was.
Oh my God, it's gonna be so gay.
Yeah,
I can't
it's g-
wait.
yeah.
I want
It's
it to
gonna be
dip into
amazing.
True Blood
It's gonna be-
territory.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, I
Yes.
want it to go.
It'll one up it for sure.
Oh, it's
it
gonna
will.
go
It will.
past, I think. And
But just yeah.
I also feel like I mean, you can see in the movie too that she learned about storytelling through everything. She has so much experience that's 20 years of experience writing these characters under her
Absolutely.
belt. So she also can tease a little bit of what's coming and make Lestat more fun.
Yeah,
and
I
make
agree.
Louis more of a like wet blanket.
And I'm sure Brian Fuller's going to do all of that.
Oh
because
my
if he's a
God.
fan of this whole franchise, like
who's
season
gonna-
one's going to be amazing.
Who's gonna play
No
them?
idea. Some in the chat, somebody said that if you scroll up a little bit, they said that they liked Antonio Banderas, even though he didn't look like
How he's described.
No, he's got red hair in the
that
book.
film. Yeah,
Yeah.
Game Wizard. That film was very well cast, even if Armand didn't look like he was supposed to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
change anything. I thought that he did. Was there a point that it said that he had red hair?
Yeah.
because
he's
the descriptions for
Old,
the rest of the
how-
book
do
were
they
like
talk about
his
how old
dark
he is?
hair.
Open, I thought it was.
Do they talk about how old he is?
No. All I got, I
real
don't
old.
know. Armand's very old. All I got in the book, the descriptions from what I was kind of remembering and recalling, he had dark hair and he had a very white face with his very
Right.
light. That's
I thought
all
it
I
was-
got.
I
So
thought
for
it was
me,
an
it was
open red
it
hair.
was Antonio
yeah.
the whole time.
Got it. That's what happens when you watch the movie first.
Well,
Yep.
Lost the Numbers. I actually watched the movie first, technically, with this one, so it's true. The show needs to go full Hannibal and then some.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
It's gonna be, because if you think about Brian Fuller,
Yes.
super sexy, super gay, super bloody.
He was the guy
Perfect.
behind the show where a man fell into a woman's vagina. Like this
Yeah,
thing is
no,
going to
got
be
sucked
bonkers.
into.
Sucked
Although
into.
to be fair, Neil Gaiman.
I know, but
wrote
he,
it
but
first.
Brian Fuller still
Yeah.
said this needs to be in the show.
And he did it so
he-
well.
and he
It was
did-
really
yeah.
well done.
So
I
was
know,
really
I'm
well done.
devastated
So,
that
yeah.
he's, like I
It
said,
was a thighs
only
surprise.
I wonder, okay, let's talk about, because I think that it is so clear why this book is huge for the LGBT community.
Yeah.
It is clear to me.
Yeah.
And I also see a lot of Anne Rice struggling with her own faith and
Yes.
asking those questions.
Yes.
And now, especially after that letter that was
Yeah.
beautifully written, I absolutely see the depression
Yes.
analogy. How much of all of those things are going to be in this new show? Do you think that they're going to lean more into it? Do you think that Anne Rice, because I know that there was a controversy where her LGBT fan base was
Yes.
was frustrated with some of the ways that Anne tackled, I guess, religion maybe later in the rest of the books. Like there's a
I
lot of
haven't-
contradictions there, and it's frustrating.
So she wrote most of the books by, I guess, the 90s or the 2000s, and then she
It's-
took a really long break.
It's very
So,
different now.
Meryl Simmons is asking the chat to fan cast Interview with the Vampire.
Oh yeah, yes
Go.
please, right
So
now,
I'll-
and use Hannibal people too, if you can,
Oh.
or like Brian Fuller people, if you
Okay.
can think of them.
Okay.
Do you have one?
No, I'm just making sure the conversation's
Okay, good.
happening.
Good.
That's my role.
But yeah, so she took a really long break. She's written erotica under pen names. She did. Someone brought up the I think it's the Mayfield. Witches of Mayfield.
Okay.
I actually haven't read those, and I would really like to. And I'm gonna, now that I'm done
Oh,
with
that's
this
a
one,
good
I can
cast.
get into the second
Guys,
one.
Dane
that's
DeHaan.
really good casting. Yeah, the Tamarinian says, I feel
Ooh.
like Dane DeHaan would be a good
He did
Louis.
a really good job in Chronicle, where he is
And
just
Amazing Spider-Man 2 is basically the same. It's the
Yeah.
same sort of
That
brooding
is-
character.
Lee Pace as Lestat. Oscar Isaac as Armand.
Ooh.
Oscar Isaac as Armand.
That is very good. Lee
Ooh.
Pace as Lestat.
I think
Sarah
he could,
not
yeah,
like
Lee
him?
Pace is
Dude,
amazing.
He's great.
Lee Pace is amazing.
And he hasn't been in Jamie Campbell Bower is
Yeah.
good too.
Who's that?
Oh,
He was in Shadowhunters.
What's
He
that? Say
was-
that again?
Well,
I was
Huh?
gonna say he's in Sweeney Todd.
Oh, okay.
he was in.
I'm about to watch Sweeney Todd.
When Shadowhunters was a movie.
Video game, movie?
Steven's really into
very
Lee
excited
Pace
about
as a
Lee Pace as a
vampire,
vampire.
yeah.
Yep, we got to see it.
Jillian. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Meryl has clearly read The Vampire Lestat because Lestat's mom is a very important character, and 100% that's what they're doing.
And Gillian
100%.
Anderson is a Brian Fuller character.
Yes,
Yeah.
and she left American Gods.
Oh, she left
To
it?
do this?
I'm sure. I am sure.
Oh.
I'm
Got it.
sure that she's.
it.
Meryl, you are
Oh.
100% right.
She's on it.
That is absolutely happening. I don't want to spoil it, but it is a
Interesting.
What do you think?
juicy part.
do you
Matthew
think
Good
about-
as the stat?
Lestat Aaron
is
Taylor
so
Johnson
hard.
as Lestat. Aaron Taylor
No.
Johnson
No.
would
Let
be
me tell
more
you
of a
why.
Louis because he's a bit sad sack.
Yeah, maybe.
sad.
Lestat needs to be, here's what I want. I want like the good looks, that sort of amazing good looks of kind of like a Brad Pitt from back in the day. Not that Brad
Which
isn't
is
good
why
looking today.
Lestat turned him in the first place.
Yeah.
There's a few things
yes.
that
but
mattered,
but not just for, I'm not talking about Lou, I'm talking about Lestat. I want an actor that looks that good, maybe like a Lee Pace, this kind of perfect looking guy, but to have this like unhinged, humor in him, that's tough.
What
that's
about
tough
Matthew
to do.
Good?
Somebody said that.
Did they?
I can't see it.
Yeah.
Because
Have
Matthew
you seen
Good.
Stoker?
No, I'm going
okay.
off of Watchmen. I'm going off of Matthew Good's like reserved roles.
Oh no, Matthew Good in Stoker.
Can he be funny?
He
Can
is
he be
like
funny?
a sexy murderer.
Is he funny though?
You really
probably
think that
not
people
gonna-
are going to
no.
call a spoiler
Probably not.
shit on me for Stoker?
Can he be funny?
Aaron.
I think
Is it possible?
It's really good. Anyway, he's
I just want somebody who can be funny.
yes, he's funny in that. Joel Kinnaman? No, I don't get
Louis?
Joel Kinnaman.
Can't see it yet.
Adam
can't see it.
Driver. It needs to be someone.
start me on
The
Adam
thing
Driver.
about Tom Cruise is that when
he's
he
got
was
the kind of crazy because you
Yes.
saw him turn crazy.
oh yeah,
Yes.
So he's capable of it.
and it's
but it was before he went
it's
full crazy.
before he went full
he's a very
crazy.
charismatic villain. He
And
did
it's
it in Tropic
before
Thunder.
Magnolia,
he did it in
which is
Collateral.
another good one.
Yes.
In very different ways.
Yes. Yes.
Tapped into
He's
something
good
unique.
at
charming.
charismatic villain. Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is when he was cast, much like we see
good.
today with like Ben
People were
Affleck,
upset.
and people were so
For
upset
sure.
when Tom Cruise was cast, and Eric and I were chatting about it, and he said I wore like a not my Lestat shirt,
I get
and then
it.
but then he loved it. It's like
Listen,
Heath Ledger. Very good example.
I think Heath Ledger's on another level.
Of
That's a
course,
completely
yes.
different, not just because of his performance, but I think that character specifically can be so interpreted. The Joker can be so many different things. I like to go to the example of Michael
Matthew
Keaton as
Good.
Batman. Michael Keaton as Batman is fantastic, but in a
love.
perfect world, he was miscast as Bruce Wayne Batman. Do you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was a different time in 1989. He did a great job with what the material was and what that era was.
But he was more of a
but-
comedian instead of being a business.
and
yeah.
it's like when
Yeah.
you look at that character historically from the source material, there are certain things where it's like this dude needs to be 6'3", 225 pounds, like he needs to have blue eyes, black hair.
I don't know if
this
I've-
stuff that's not super important, but that still sort of adds up to the character of Batman.
Yep.
The same thing I think with Louis and Lestat. I love both of their performances, but when I think about who they could cast today, one of the first things I think of get somebody that can do a bomb ass like Cajun accent,
Oh,
like a
yeah.
very authentic,
Do you know who can?
Well-
who?
He was Gambit.
Oh
No,
yeah,
he cannot.
Yes,
Taylor Kitsch?
yeah.
No.
Because Taylor Kitsch
No,
didn't.
no,
Channing-
not
Channing Tatum? Well, he hasn't been Gambit yet. He's gonna be Gambit if they
No,
ever make that
it's
movie.
happening.
Someone
but
in the
reason
chat-
why
He
he's
can-
Gambit
he
is
can
because
do
he
it?
can do Creole, yeah.
Then I wouldn't be
Alexander
super opposed to
Skarsgård,
that.
I don't think he would do another vampire thing. Michael Pitt.
Who's Michael Pitt?
Michael Pitt.
My God.
Who's
Michael
Michael-
Pitt gives me the shit.
Who's Michael
Yeah.
Pitt?
He's up there with Cillian Murphy for me somehow. I'm just
Is
like,
he younger
meh.
brother to Brad?
No.
Who's Michael Pitt?
Michael
Look
Pitt.
him up. He's got lips. The boy's got lips
Boardwalk
on him.
Empire.
Okay.
Main character. The dream. What?
he in
Dawson's
Suicide?
Creek.
Mason Verger.
Was he in-
Mason Verger
was he
and
in Suicide
Hannibal.
Bedroom?
You're. Oh my. Is he okay? Well.
What happened there?
He's crazy. Yeah.
whoa.
I've heard that he's very
He had like 3 episodes.
difficult to work with.
Yeah.
But he was on.
bonkers.
He's the main character in Boardwalk Empire.
Matt Bomer is Lestat.
That's who Anne Rice wants.
Oh, I've got a Matt Bomer
No, she
for
wants
that one.
Louis. She wants Louis.
No, he's
He'd be good.
Lestat.
Yeah, she wants Louis.
No, because he's got a little bit of cray-cray in
But
him.
he's also he
Michael
could also play
Pitt
tragic. Michael
It's a
Pitt.
baby face.
Yeah.
You've seen,
Cheep,
but he's
cheep,
like
cheep, cheep. Little
he's-
baby face.
What was that?
What?
Huh? Oh, y'all have never.
Hector,
Oh,
I'm telling you. His
y'all
No.
never. Oh no.
Oh, that's a lot of spill.
I
Oh
spilled
no,
wine.
that's the
What
first
happened?
time
I
this has
got
ever
caught.
happened.
It is the first time it's ever happened. People are running in. It's like a big deal. Sorry. We don't want to stain. I stained the chair.
Oh,
We'll
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah.
We just need
Was-
salt.
I'm not even
Hey,
drunk.
Hey,
Oh,
hey there.
no.
Hi, I'll carry the show for this second. And it's actually really entertaining to watch him like squirm through trying to clean it. Is that all in your lap? Was there? Is it
was-
all
it
white
was,
writing
yeah.
on your shirt? Now it's red, or is it the shirt? I'm not entirely sure.
No,
but
that
anyway,
was-
the
that
fan
was-
casting that you're
oh,
doing is
no.
amazing.
Yes.
Matthew McGee.
Who's Ma- oh,
McGee?
Mc-
McGee.
McConaughey? Is that who you mean? Matthew McConaughey?
Oh,
because
can
they
do
didn't.
occasionally.
Oh, I
Yeah,
got
but
it in
he's
some of the
too
carpet,
old.
y'all. I'm
We'll
sorry.
fix it. We'll fix
Hector
it.
Navarro, you blues. Can we not play the strings because he has no points? Hector has no points. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Party foul.
No points. Do you know what? Okay, here's a fun fact, and because there's a Kiwi and an Australian who won't have my back for some reason in the chat. When someone spills their drink, everyone yells out "taxi." Because
Why?
it's like
I don't
you
get
order
it.
a taxi to get the person out of
Oh,
there.
that's funny. I get it
Oh,
now.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Ooh,
It's
like-
Monstera Eva
Shire
Green.
is from New Zealand, by the way, which is a great name, and
Oh,
I
that makes sense.
appreciate and respect that. And Wrinkle in Time, some of it was shot in New Zealand, and it looks
Oh, really?
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah, everything has to be shot in
I
New
want to
Zealand.
talk about Claudia
Okay.
because I love
she died.
her. And in the movie, one of the,
She died, girl.
Oh no.
She died. She broke to a crisp, girl.
It's so.
That
I saw the
girl-
sun. She died.
She died, girl.
She's you guys. She's a really tragic character.
Very tragic.
Because
She was the
imagine,
unfurling of Lestat, and he had revenge.
imagine being. I remember the feeling, and I
don't
think
touch you.
anyone who's gone through puberty in any way knows the feeling of feeling like you haven't caught up to everyone else yet, but you feel like that your whole life. You're she is a 30-year-old woman, 40-year-old woman in a child's body. That is fucked.
No, she's like 70.
Well, at that point, but as when they're leaving,
When she's like figuring shit out.
but
yeah.
in the end, and wanting to like drawing all of these women and being so curious from them, but in the movie, so I had it must have been a VHS. I don't know. Maybe it was like the first, like a DVD. I don't remember. But
it just sounds awkward, the cleaning up. Like you can hear it.
yeah, you
Sorry.
can. Yeah, it's just.
I'm done. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Hector,
I'll just sit in it.
yeah, there we go.
Yes, Meryl says it would be amazing to have an open casting for Claudia. I super agree. I don't know when they're gonna. I mean, they'll probably do the same setting. I don't know how they're
Question.
gonna order it because
5 years old or 11 years old, like in the movie?
11.
Or 5 years old, like in the book?
11,
it
12,
depends.
12.
It depends.
It's sorry,
It
it's for
depends
me-
on, and don't spoil it, but
Yeah.
for like A Wrinkle in Time, that kid is real young, and he's
Yeah.
supposed to play Charles Wallace.
And he's great.
And it's more, but I still think, Kirsten Dunst, I
She
think
crushed
she's an
it.
incredible actress in general, but she is so good in this. And the scene when she transforms,
You need to have that sort of maturity. You need to have lived a little to be able to harness
yes,
that maturity.
a little bit, and that tragedy. And
Here was another weird thing too. The
it's her
kiss in the
first-
movie
her first kiss ever.
was a big deal, and in the book that didn't really happen. Like that happened a couple times.
I'm fine with that
I'm fine with.
because it actually has to happen. Words on a page,
Yeah.
fine, but when it actually has to happen,
I agree.
I don't know what it is in me, but I'm literally like protect the children.
And I didn't feel like it was a romantic
No.
relationship.
It was platonic. No, it was a
it was
she
kind of
was their
father-daughter.
Yeah.
But then they kind of became equals.
yeah, and
so,
she had to destroy. I mean, it's like an edible thing.
But then she still had tantrums, which was great.
because
Like, I loved
they
that.
treat her like a child.
'Cause she
if
looks
you
like a
aren't
child.
allowed to develop,
Yeah.
the world treats her
there
like
are
a
a
child.
lot of
yeah.
people, I think, who don't ever like have to learn how to be an adult or take care of themselves,
Yeah.
and they throw tantrums all the time.
Lawson Number says that instead of it being an interviewer, it should be a vlogger who has a lot of Twitter
Oh
followers.
God! Oh no, Lee, are you
Yeah.
in the room?
No.
Boo! Boo! Lee!
Slime, filth, muck,
No, rubbish.
the queen of slime.
That's a callback, y'all.
Meryl actually also wanted to know, do you think that Claudia should be mixed race? And I've got a fun fact for you. The girl who plays, is it Bonnie in Vampire?
Yeah, Diaries.
Diaries?
Yes.
Which I watched almost all of.
Almost all of it. Again, it
Once
just,
when Elena
petered
left, I was
out.
like, no.
Petered out,
Yeah.
didn't it? And then
True
it was
Blood
like,
too.
I
it was
watched all of
Stefan
that.
and a Blondie, are they, aren't they?
Yeah.
Not on my count. 1, 2, 3. Anyway, so yes,
Cow fought cow.
I do think it should be mixed race. I think that would be amazing, and I think that even Bonnie Stevens was her name.
Yeah, I think Bonnie. I think it's Bonnie. The character is Bonnie Stevens, I think.
Right.
But the
That's
actress, I can't. Catherine Graham. I think that.
That's amazing.
I could talk about this forever. I think that having Brian Fuller, the fact that and I said this in the first episode, but I will say it again. When Brian Fuller in like 1976 or 1977, a few years after this book came out, he wrote a letter, it's like 15 or something.
To Anne
Wrote
Rice.
a letter to Anne Rice saying, if you ever make a movie out of this, I want to make it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now he's doing the show, and
That's
she
great.
apparently reached out to him.
You can tell when things are done through passion. You can
Because-
tell when
and-
someone
Yes.
has that.
And I feel like all of the, I haven't read Prince Lestat, but there were some issues. I think fans had issues with that, and also some of her work where she got back into the more spiritual elements. But as we've talked about on the show, just because you are spiritual or religious doesn't mean you necessarily ascribe to some of the
True. And I
other
think it
thoughts
would
of
be
that.
interesting to like confront that shit.
No, and I think they
know?
will. I think
Yeah.
they will. I think they will address the
if-
depression. I think they
Yes.
will depress bodies and sex and
If
all of this
vampires
stuff.
are a very clear analogy for feeling like an outsider because
Yes,
you're in the
like the
LGBT
X-Men.
community, but Louis is still has his faith. Let's I want people to confront him and be like,
Yes.
how can you be?
That's
how
a
can you
very
believe
real
this
thing.
while still being
Yeah.
the kind of person
Louis
you are?
has been torn in like
Very-
5 directions
I know.
his entire life.
And the whole
that's
idea,
why he's just
he's an interesting character. The whole idea of Louis trying to maintain his humanity
Yes.
while still turning into this creature is fascinating, and I didn't quite feel it landed throughout the book, maybe because of
Agree.
the pacing, but I know that it's such a fascinating idea for a
and
vampire.
Lestat would dismiss it so readily, and so it wouldn't be an
Because-
issue, and it wasn't allowed to.
Well, and he's also been like Lestat has accepted how he is, and Louis is racked with conflict and guilt, and I feel like that is a really strong story to tell about people who understandably are not comfortable with how they are, and they especially are raised in a background that won't let them feel that way, and other people being like, come be a part of this. It's okay. This is not necessarily bad. This is
There's an added layer of isolation in that as well when Claudia takes to killing immediately.
Yes.
And it's something that they bond over and it's something that they have in common. And Louis going, man, this is my daughter. This is someone I love unconditionally. And yet she is begging me to kill with her.
Yeah.
So it's like in every direction.
But she's also very thoughtful and contemplative and sad about what's happening. I mean, Eric hit the nail on the head saying that she's part of, but they could not make her without both of them.
Yeah, they raised her.
And she has both of them. She has the crazy and she has the sadness
the introspective
and the
Louis, yeah.
introspectiveness. And I just think that that's brilliant. And I just want to say, because we only have a couple minutes left, but for you especially, on the VHS or the DVD, whatever it is, maybe it's on YouTube, there is a behind the scenes of how they did the Claudia
the hair
ash
thing coming.
no,
Very
ash.
cool. Very
and
good.
it's the same technique that they used in The Dark Crystal, which is another one of my favorites, where the Skeksis emperor falls apart and it's wire work. And they build this wire thing and pull it, and as the wire pulls,
it unravels.
sections of it and it disintegrates.
Weezer wrote a song about that.
Yeah, pull this thread as I walk away.
As
Oh,
we walk
If you want to
Okay, I'll
destroy
take it
my
out.
sweater.
Can't sing anymore.
But isn't that so cool?
Yes,
and
dude,
that was
practical
one of the
effects
first
hold up. They would just do
things-
that shit CG today.
and it would not be the same.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it. I remember where I was. I don't remember if it was I think it was a VHS. I remember watching it. I used to rent it. This was one of the movies I would rent from Blockbuster when I was staying with my dad for the weekend because he was busy work, and I would just watch movies. And I remember watching it and being like, movies are so cool.
Yeah.
This is the coolest thing. And when I realized that 2 of my favorite movies could do that, I just think
Yeah.
I wish we would do more practical effects. And I
Practical.
love that Brian Fuller
Jurassic Park
does
was
a
that
lot.
for me. When I
Brian
was a
Fuller
kid.
does a lot of
Yeah.
No, a
practical
man
effects as
actually
well.
went into a woman's vagina in that shoot. It
It's
was
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah,
how he
crazy.
did that.
You know,
A lot
she
of
trained
practice.
for
Talk about an
months
open
and months.
casting call.
Yeah, Kegel, officer.
You know? Yeah.
I think that, what
Yeah.
was it? Someone wrote a really, really great thing, and I've forgotten it, and we need to go back in the chat. I tried to remember it, and then I was talking about engorged vaginas.
Well, that's distracting.
Shame on me, right?
okay.
Oh,
I know.
no, DeMarco draws such an amazing analogy. As a child, this is Claudia, she's driven by urges, not logic. So even though she looks like a child and she grows and her brain develops the maturity levels, there is something that makes her and continues her to be a childlike. And I think that's exactly it. She doesn't quite capture what logic is. She has these impulses that
stuck.
she feeds into, pun intended.
And I love the tug of war between feeling like vampires are justified in their killing and us being kind of immersed in this vampire culture where all of them basically except Louis are like, this is what we do, dude. It's okay. We're all God's children versus like killing is bad. Don't
Yeah.
ever lose sight of the fact
Yeah.
that killing is bad. Like this is bad. You have doomed people to
I think when
death.
you killed a priest,
Yeah.
it's like, psh, bye.
Yeah.
But,
So
but
yeah,
you
man.
could choose to be a vampire vigilante, which,
Yeah.
Lestat, if you're out there, still waiting. Anytime.
You have the power.
I want to be a vampire.
To take you out or to make
I
turn you-
really
turn
want to
you?
be a vampire.
I don't think
Yeah.
we have time, but I really kind of wanted to touch upon the fact that Lestat has minions, like youngling vampires
book,
that are
yeah,
aiding
not in the
for
movie.
him. Exactly. And the younglings provide babies for Lestat to
Oh,
eat. And in the
Oh,
movie,
yeah.
it's rats.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that was
That's pretty fucked
changed.
up.
That's so bad. I was
Yeah.
listening. I'm like, no.
But then in that
no.
one scene, Louis saves that baby, takes her back to the.
No, he kills the baby.
No.
He kills the baby.
No.
He doesn't?
He takes the baby back to the home that it was taken from.
I thought he ended its life.
He shows up when Lestat is all messed up and old.
Yeah.
He's like, Louis, you
Yeah.
came back to see me. You'll stay, right? And he's like, no, I won't. And he like takes the crying
Yoinks.
baby and holds
Good.
it. And then he's like, okay. And
And he
then he
leaves
says,
him.
So
he
the baby
leaves and
goes
goes
still. I thought the
back
baby.
to the home.
I
You said
love
the baby went
that
still
scene too
with
because
him. I thought he meant still dead.
oh
I was
no,
like, God damn, this
I
is
love
so
that
dark.
scene too because he's just like it's almost like I don't need you anymore. You don't scare me
Yeah,
anymore.
it was like a
It's
breakup.
Really powerful.
It was like 5 years later after you see your ex. It was like a bad relationship. You see
Yeah.
them and you're like, I'm good, bro. Like
Ooh.
that's what it felt like. Yeah,
I wish you
won.
the best.
I won.
I'm glad I'm out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
to wrap things up, final thoughts. I thought we should kind of weigh in not only on the entire book, but how the book complemented the movie. or
Here's
the
my
movie
final
complemented
thoughts.
the book.
That comment right there from Pyun Jun 4, given 1979.
Yep.
This book is a hard read. Sorry. Yeah, that's pretty close. But The Vampire Lestat is amazing and fairly faster paced, so don't give up on the series because it gets way better in the next book and you see a whole other side of Lestat.
Okay.
yes.
For me, I halfway through, a third of the way through the book, for another 2/3 of the book nearly, I wondered why this book had gained so much traction. If it was the movie that was propelling the book, but everyone that I spoke to, they were like, "Oh, I love that book," and I was like, "You know what? It's a little slow." And they're like, "Yeah, you're right." So I was like, "Why has the reputation completely outweighed this 2/3 of a book in the middle that's really quite tough? Great set up an exposition, terrible in the middle, really amazing at the end." And I think the end is so good and delivers so much, not only on Louis' entire insight and purpose, but introducing the Amand character, the way that Claudia left us all, Lestat and his, can't be killed, his immortality. That last part where Louis loses his shit and just kills everyone is so well done that it redeems the really, really slow parts, and it's so memorable that's what you take away. So I get it now, and I apologize for ripping this book a new one for 2
I
weeks.
do
No,
not.
I think it's good because you do get to that point, and there were a couple books that we've read where you're just like, okay, I gotta go. But read the second one because when you finish it, the end is so great, and then she takes 10 years off, and the next one is.
Read the second one. Why, I think I will,
Oh,
Rachel.
Hector! Great segue.
Well, that's right. We have a new book next month for the month of March, which is Rachel and my birthday month. And because the first book was such a success, everyone loved it. It is so great, and rereading and / listening to them is so amazing. We are going to do the second book for the Harry Potter series. This is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. It is the same globally. You opened the chamber.
Gotta open the chamber.
Gotta open it.
Gotta open the
Oh
chamber.
man, this is the one that has Gilderoy Lockhart in it. God, this guy's a
Yeah.
real piece of
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And
Oh,
also,
Kenneth
this is the
Branagh.
cover that I remember. This is the
Nope.
Harry I remember.
Never
He's
seen this
a
before in my
little-
life.
Little twerp.
Never seen
Real
this before
twerp.
in
What did you
my
have,
life.
like a weird train or something? Some
probably.
weird Australian thing?
But not
Cool.
a guy.
Kangaroo.
Peter would have a field day because he is literally pulling a phoenix by the tails, and that does not look friendly or nice. And
The
I'm-
Phoenix is smiling, and so's Harry.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Hey, anyway,
Fox.
guys, if you don't have the book, make sure you grab it. If you're listening to it, Jim Dale does an amazing job.
I'm going to listen to all the Harry Potter books because I did it halfway through the first book and I was like, this is the only audiobook
and you
I've
really
ever
do get over the
loved.
fact
Yeah.
that his Hermione impersonation is rock bottom. And
But John Williams score, guys.
No, I'm-
But the John Williams score,
yeah,
guys.
all of it.
Come
all
on,
of it
do
happening.
half and half. Do
I'll
like
do
start
half and half.
Super
Yeah,
excited
I'll
for
do
next
half and
week.
half.
score.
It's going
Okay.
to be amazing. I have no idea where we're reading to because the prompt has gone down.
Oh, great.
It died a while ago.
It's, it's chapter 6. Stop at the beginning of chapter 6, Gilderoy Lockhart.
Stop
Ooh.
when you meet the man himself. Chapter 6. So the first 5 chapters of this book. We'll see you next week. It's amazing. May the force be with you.
Okay.
So I need to get...